So as the Americans and Israelis are taking out not just the launchers, and the air defense seems to be completely gone, by the way. So the Navy has been reduced to like no, there's not much of left of the navy. The launchers seem to be destroyed. A lot of them have been destroyed because in Israel apparently they're getting a lot less missiles, so that shows that has been effective. And both the Israelis and the Americans have just announced that they have now full control over Iranian airspace, which means that all of the air defense is also already gone, right? So that, as much as we saw attacks on the Basiji bases and IRGC bases, and Kalantaris, which are smaller police stations, the fact that they're taking Kalantaris shows that the job is getting done really fast, because these are small buildings, right? Small buildings that they have like limited amount of. That means that they have finished the job with many of the more important bases, that they're now focusing on these, and they use that as a way to know exactly which force they need to move where, and where their armed forces need to be when it comes to suppressing the Iranian people. So these are like places people are on their computer, they're on the phone, they're getting the information, they're giving it to their higher ups, they come up with a strategy, they tell the people on the ground where to go, which people to kill, where to retreat, where to guide people, try to guide people into a kill zone where they could kill them over there, where to start shooting, where to stop shooting, where to use tear gas. All of these are like the armed forces on the ground. All of these information is coming from them from somewhere else, right? And they have a lot of information regarding what is the that's why the Islamic Republic is very effective at suppressing the Iranian people, because they're dealing with a lot of intelligence, right? So we saw that in the IDF and Mossad videos that they put on their official accounts, that these places where people are behind computers and talking to people left and right, those have a lot of them have been taken out as well. Those street cameras that they have, those are exactly how Israel got the information regarding who to take out and what. Apparently, they were all hacked by Israel. So the very tools that the Islamic Republic was using to suppress the Iranian people, the Israelis had access to all of them, and they could see the movements of the Islamic Republic all the time. Apparently, they were seeing everything all the time. And not only that, there was one specific camera that was at the right angle. So apparently, among all of these thousands of camera that the Islamic Republic has all over Iran, one camera was the golden camera, because it was right at the angle which has access to apparently a parking lot, where the Israel could see exactly where the Khamenei's guards were coming in and coming out, and that gave them so much information with regards to where when Khamenei was moving to a meeting. So that camera made the Israelis very much aware of Khamenei's movement, that specific camera. So going back to putting yourself in a position of the armed forces of the Islamic Republic on the ground, right? So when you're one of these people and you're supposed to attack the Iranian people, when you see hundreds of thousands of Iranian people in the streets, the reason why you're not afraid is because you're aware that there's a whole system behind you. So you might be just a few people, but you have information and they don't. You have people backing you and they don't, right? You could see way more than what your eyes could see, and they don't see that. You have like eyes in the sky, you have the cameras, you know exactly where to go, when to retreat, and they don't. So now what's happening is that when you go into the streets, first of all, you don't have any place to go to because your base has been been reduced to dust. So they're putting out tents. They're basically roaming the streets right now. Some of these people don't know where to go. They're just like some of them are going to schools, right? A lot we saw images and videos that they're turning schools into their bases of operation, especially after Israel came out and mentioned that they would not never attack schools. So we're like, oh, okay, so we will just go and just stay in schools. We're getting pictures and reports that they're in schools and hospitals now. This is going to make it very difficult for them to be taken out. I don't know how we're going to manage that. But the fact is that you could see as an individual that of the member of the like armed forces of the Islamic Republic, that there's chaos, that the person that was speaking in your ear yesterday now is a different person. The guy that was always your commander, he's dead, and this person who's now speaking to you, He seems less more qualified for what he's doing, right? And you could see that everything is chaotic. So more of these people are going to get convinced that, okay, this is game over. Like we're getting to a game over scenario. So what happens? What do I do now if I know that? There's three different possibilities depending on what kind of a person I am as a member of the Islamic Republic's armed forces, right? Am I so completely ideological, meaning that I don't care, I'm going to stay here, I'm going to I'm going to either get killed or manage to keep fighting for the Islamic Republic, and I'm okay with each one. I am ready to become a martyr, right? Or I'm on the complete other end of the spectrum. Am I completely like pragmatic and just self-interested, and I didn't want anything to do with this. I thought I'm just getting paid for beating a couple of people. I don't want to die. Let me out of here. So these are people who might get encouraged to either run away, like for try to figure out how to save themselves, or maybe try to defect or signal to the Americans that, hey, like, how can I ask for immunity if I put my guns down? But there's also a bunch of people in the middle that uh, wouldn't put their guns down, and these are people who are on autopilot. They're kind of like robots. They don't think really much. They just do what they're told. And if we could, like, if you could get somebody from the Islamic Republic, if like the Americans could negotiate with somebody from the Islamic Republic for the in exchange of immunity to give the order to these people to stand down, that would be great. However, those more ideological durka durka people who just are going to keep shooting for the sake of Mahdi until their last breath, those will be a problem. And it doesn't, unfortunately, it doesn't take that many of them to kill a lot of Iranian people. So that is the part that is going to be a challenge, and that might be the reason why the Americans are talking about arming certain groups of people. I don't know how effective that strategy is. The idea might be that if we, for example, we arm some Kurdish people and we attack the Islamic Republic from on their border with in Kurdistan with Iraq, then they would have to send some of their forces over there, and there will be less armed forces to basically attack the Iranian people. Again, a lot of Iranian people are sensitive about that because they think like, oh my god, you're arming separatist groups. I don't know. I'm not that worried about that because again, I think that if the Islamic Republic falls, the Iranian people will be able to defend their borders. So if this is a necessary tactic, then so be it. I don't. I know a lot of Iranian peoples will hate that. I don't know how seriously America is considering that, anyways. But the border integrity of Iran is not anything that you could be messing with. Like even like I'm pretty sure millions and millions of Iranian people will join the armed forces after the Islamic Republic falls to defend their borders, and we're going to be able to maintain our borders. But this is going to be a challenge, and I think that this is why the revolution phase is not even it's not over, and we might have to pay a heavy price continuing to fight these people. It might be possible that they're not going to be able to just kill every single armed forces of the Islamic Republic. At the end of the day, when the Iranian people come out, there might be many people who are still willing to shoot at them, much less effectively than before because they're going to be less organized. They're going to have lower numbers, and they're going to be blind compared to how they were before. So just like the Iranian people who could only understand what the strategy is based on what they could see in front of their eyes, we might get to a point where that's how the regime forces are as well. However, the problem is that still that they are armed and the Iranian people are not. So that is going to be a challenge, and we might have to pay a huge price in the lives of Iranian people until we get to the finish line. So
Is
sorry that
there
went for too long,
is
but
there
yeah.
any way to, like, get arms to the Iranian people? Like, if you gave me a gun, I don't know that I could shoot it, but, like, are they able to do something like that?
So this is a very, very hot, heated topic among Iranians themselves, and it gets a lot of disagreements. Some people are saying like obviously that's what needs to happen, and some people are saying that if that happens, it's going to be absolute chaos because then we're not going to know who's who and who is a regime force and who isn't, because regime forces don't wear uniforms, right? And if the Iranian people are armed, then the regime forces could join them, like come in the middle of them while holding their gun, saying that, acting like they're with the revolution, and then right in the middle of them start shooting them, right? And also, if the Iranian people are armed, if at some point the Israelis and Americans are taking out regime forces, the only way to identify who's a regime force is that they have a gun in their hand, right? So, but if the Iranian people are also have gun in their hand, then who's who? Like, who do we take out and who do we support? Because they're not wearing uniforms. So and unlike Gaza, like it's not like Israelis have as much information regarding who's who, who's a terrorist, and who isn't. So it's just basically plainclothes people armed on both sides, and it's going to. I mean, I don't know how challenging this is going to be, but I'm just telling you the different narratives. It might be a good idea. Again, I don't know. I'm just saying that I'm just giving you what the people who are against Iranian people being armed are saying, and the people who are for it, they're like, just trust the Iranian people. They know what to do. They're in the ground. They will be able to identify who's who. And obviously, there's no other way to get through this phase other than arming the Iranian people. So we have arguments for both sides. I'll let you decide what's the best argument. What who? By the way, we might not even have to think about this. We might get to a point where the Islamic Republic cannot guard the weapons that it has, and without you having to arm the Iranian people are going to go to the wherever the storage is, wherever the Islamic Republic holds these weapons, and the Iranian people might arm themselves before anybody gets the chance to arm them. So that might happen as well. Does that answer your question? Okay. Good questions, by the way.
Jeffrey, I saw your hand up. You want to go ahead and chime in?
Yeah, so Armin, on that issue, you should probably just read your email, what I sent you, and what I sent you on WhatsApp. As far as again what Lindsay had asked, so it's not a either or issue. There is a legitimate legal way. There's certain things that's got to happen, right? That like political, legal, regulatory, the rest of it for to set up a network to provide non-lesser and indeed kinetic like material support to unconventional, lawful unconventional fighters on the ground. Armin touched on some very key operational issues. See, right, getting sharper and sharper every day. I love you. Blue on blue force aggression, right? So maybe we have to do that. They have to be. It's not just like drop a whole bunch of rifles in theater, right? So like to equip a 180, 128 man unconventional unit like a company, it'd cost about, this is just the stuff, right? Bare minimum, about $1.2 million. It'll weigh about 48,000 pounds. You'd have to, if you're going to airdrop it, because now we own the sky, so now we can airdrop things without getting shot at with at least long range air defense missiles, although we still have to worry about man pads and all that until we clean those guys out. Now you're talking about either a C-17 Galaxy or two C-130s airdropping that, the like 48 pallets of stuff. Let's say they land and the wind blows and they blow all over the place, and now you're like, shit, I have to sit there and go and find like pallet A and pallet B has like beans and pallet C has boots and right all this other stuff, right? So you gotta do that. Let's say you put all that together. So if you first you have to have, how do you get it there? And second off, how do you make sure it gets to the people that you want it to have? Because as Armin said, and this is the issue, right? Having the IRGC or besiege elements take off their uniform and try to pull this like long-term insurgency issue. That's why I sent you what I did. We're going to counter that with those efforts, or at least go a ways to do that. So there's that issue. And then you have, like, let's say you get everybody together and you got all good guys, which I mean, the vast majority of Iranians have demonstrated they're very much good guys. They all get together, they all put out their stuff. They don't know who's who or what's what. So, like, you might have blue on blue force activity. It becomes almost like unwitting sectarian violence, which would be absolutely horrible. So, there's that issue. It's not that it's not frustrating, and it's not that there isn't legitimate ways to try and do what you're saying you'd like to do, which is very understandable with people like, look, I don't want to be some lamb to the slaughter, right? That's a very valid anger, and it's a very valid, and the what is it, the suggested act, response is very valid. I'm saying it has to be done a very specific way for very specific legal and operational reasons if you want to have any chance of that having the highest chance of success and or minimum chance of unintended negative secondary consequences.
Awesome. All right.
Next, we have Dajjal.
Yeah, what's up, guys? Yeah, I was going to ask you, Armin, what do you make of the idea that the Iraqi Kurds are going to be entering Iran possibly to fight the Islamic Republic? Because a lot of these guys are separatists, and they would like that. They want an independent Kurdistan. What do you think of that? I mean, I know you said you're not that worried about it right now, but what do you think would come about as a result of that? Is that something? Are they something are they a force you could ally with temporarily, or what? I'd be curious to know what you think.
Okay, the Iranian people will never, never, ever, ever will ally with any groups that have a separatist agenda. Okay, it's like their biggest red line.
Yeah.
There's nothing more sacred to them than the borders of Iran, the border integrity of Iran, right? The challenge that we have right now is, given how big of a red line this is for Iranians, first of all, we don't know if this is going to happen. Okay, so the only report that we are getting right now is that the Americans have considered, like, are putting this into consideration to be working with these Iraqi Kurdish groups to fight the Islamic Republic. This is only a consideration. If it does happen, the challenge, in my opinion, is more that to get the Iranians not to criticize President Trump. I'm more concerned regarding that. I genuinely believe that once Iran is free, the Iranian people will not let their borders be challenged in such a way. And I don't think that the Kurdish separatist groups, not only they don't have enough forces to challenge Iranians on their border integrity, I don't think they even have enough forces to challenge Iranian courts when it comes to the border integrity of Iran. I honestly think that just the Iranian Kurds alone would be enough to stop any separatist groups to basically challenge the borders of Iran, let alone the rest of Iran. Like, once we're free, the Iranian people, if anybody wants to attack Iran's borders, the number of people who would join the Artesh, Iran's military, will be astronomical. Our challenge would be that we're getting too many applications for Iranian people wanting to defend their border. So the threat, what I'm worried about is not whether or not our borders, we will be able to maintain our borders or not. What I'm worried about is, politically, will the Iranian people be this is what I'm going to be working on, to convince more Iranians not to attack President Trump on this, right? And this is challenging because this is so sacred, so important for the Iranian people to continue to show appreciation and continue saying thank you, Trump, because our main obstacle right now is the Islamic Republic, and it is President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu who are removing this obstacle. And like, I will. This is what my line of reasoning would be to them: get us to the point where we could defend our borders, get us to the point where we Iranian people could defend our borders faster. Right now, we should just focus all our energy to get to that point. Everything else is secondary. So that's what I think. But I also, yeah, go on, Joel.
Yeah, I was just saying I agree completely. That's what I was getting at, more about what Trump is, about how you deal with Trump and making sure you don't piss him off, and you just make sure that you express appreciation for it, because I know the Iranians believe in the borders, and they ain't going to go for anything that's going to go against that, and that includes the Kurds, because the Iranian Kurds are overwhelmingly pro-Iranian and pro-Taliban. They'll take up arms against separatist Kurds if it comes down to it.
Right. I think this is important that the Iranian people don't get triggered by that and respond really harshly against President Trump. Again, I do genuinely think that they don't have a chance. Let's just get rid of the Islamic Republic, and then we will deal with that later. I also predict. Okay, I haven't seen this yet, but I'm going to predict that the Islamic Republic is going to jump on this really, really fast, because like I would expect they come to their state TV and say, "We told you so. We told you so. These people want to break Iran apart. This is why you need the Islamic Republic. The enemies of the Islamic Republic are also the enemies of Iran. We told you once they come forward, Islamic Republic is not going to be good enough for them, and they're also the enemies of Iran as well. And these people want to tear Iran apart. This is why you need to support us, because the people who you are supporting, the Israelis and Americans, their dream has always been to destroy Iran and turn it into pieces. And what President Trump is saying, this confirms that we were right, and come back into the arms of the Islamic Republic, because even if you hate us, at least we're going to keep Iran together. At least we're not going to let the borders be challenged. So this is a confirmation that the Islamic Republic was right, and it's now time for you guys to come support us. If you love Iran, even if you hate the Islamic Republic, for the sake of Iran, come back to the Islamic Republic. So this might be a narrative that you might see be put out by the Islamic Republic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to work. I think it's just a sign of their absolute desperation at this point. Because if they think they can get the Iranian people back on their side, I think they're fucking nuts. But I think you're right. It's something they're going to try, no doubt about it.